Russia could launch a massive attack on Kyiv within days. Here's what you need to know. Russian forces are overcoming early issues and concentrating in the eastern, northwestern, and western outskirts of Kyiv as they prepare an assault on the capital in the coming days, according to The Guardian. Citing the Institute for the Study of War, new satellite images of the long Russian convoy heading toward Kyiv from the northwest show it has not advanced beyond the airport in Hostomel, 30 kilometers outside Kyiv. But Russian forces elsewhere have been consolidating, notably in the Irpin area in the west and the Brovary area in the east, in what is characterized as an attempt to resupply, reorganize, and plan. The necessity for such a regrouping was caused primarily by the flawed assumption that a quick, efficient decapitation of the Ukrainian government was possible, because their forces would be welcomed as liberators, according to Michael Kofman, director of the Russia Studies program at the CNA think tank. After a massive air assault on Hostomel airfield near Kyiv was repulsed, and lightly armored vanguard forces working ahead of Russian air defenses initially failed in attempts to march into both Kyiv and Kharkiv in the first days of the conflict. Russia was not prepared for a larger strategic ground offensive in Ukraine, and this lack of preparation saw the infamous large convoy stalled en route to Kyiv, with vehicles running out of fuel and breaking down. This in turn caused a traffic jam in the northwest, arguably the most direct route to Kyiv, and this has been extremely hard to undo. Now, though, progress does appear to be being made through the country, with Russia both more cautiously building its invasion by keeping its troops under the protection of its air defenses and making progress outside of the still stalled convoy in the northwest. Furthermore, limited air power available to the Ukrainians means that the convoy has not been destroyed and, by extrapolation, will eventually be able to join an attempt at a complete encirclement of the capital. In this context, The New Yorker said last week that 15,000 Kyiv citizens were taking shelter in the city's metro system every night. Additionally, outside of Kyiv, Russia has also made significant strategic progress. Local Ukrainian officials confirmed the takeover of the government headquarters of the southern city of Kherson, an important Black Sea port of 280,000 people, last week. And Russia is also known to have controversially taken over the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, which in normal times produces 1/5 of Ukraine's electricity. In a Friday statement cited by CNN, Ukraine's State Emergency Services said a training building outside the main nuclear complex caught fire after shelling from Russian military forces, while the State Nuclear Regulatory Inspectorate said that although the plant's 6 reactors remained intact, compartment auxiliary buildings for Reactor Unit 1 had been damaged. But the situation now is that Russia occupies the site, and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has warned Russian forces will attempt to capture the Yuzhno-Krynsk nuclear power plant, according to the Associated Press. Despite these apparent Russian successes, it is not at all clear that the war's trajectory is inevitable. On the attempt to encircle Kyiv, for instance, one land warfare expert told The Guardian, the question is whether Russia will be in sufficiently good shape to attempt to complete the encirclement, given the physical and psychological hammering that their forces have taken while they were in a state of confused disorganization. Ukrainian resistance remains a major factor too, with the Times of London reporting that the Ukrainian army is using a nimble stealth drone to bomb Russian forces. Developed in Ukraine, the Punisher drone has a wingspan of 2.3 meters and is designed to attack enemy fuel storage, ammo trucks, and electronic warfare stations up to 50 kilometers behind enemy lines. The drone's designers say its most powerful feature is that it's very light and small, making it almost impossible to see with the naked eye or with radar, which is why they are very hard to hit. The drones use an electrical engine, which also makes them very quiet, so they are very effective at sneaking over enemy lines and hunting high-value targets. A huge Russian convoy moving toward Kyiv has stalled. Here's why. A 64-kilometer-long Russian military convoy heading toward Kyiv that has virtually stalled for over a week now sits about 15 miles out from the city, according to the Washington Post. Mechanical breakdown, congestion, and morale issues, plus food and fuel supplies running low, are cited by the BBC as contributing factors to the extremely slow progress. Additionally, one former commander of the UK Joint Forces Command told the BBC command and control issues such as faulty radio networks are likely to be causing bigger problems. The Associated Press, meanwhile, reports that Ukrainian resistance may also account for some of the slowdown, with one senior U.S. defense official saying Ukrainian troops have been targeting the convoy with ground fire, including shoulder-fired Javelin anti-tank missiles, and essentially creating roadblocks when vehicles at the front of the convoy are struck. Alternatively, though, Pentagon spokesman John Kirby has suggested that the vehicles, which he says are largely meant for resupply purposes, could be deliberately paused as the Russians regroup themselves. Cited by the Washington Post last week, the director of the Security and Defense Studies program at the Turkish think tank EDAM said the convoy's delay could be partially the result of Russia's attempt to move away from a failed plan to decapitate the Ukrainian government quickly. The Russian forces are instead now trying to transition to Soviet-type heavy firepower and armor-focused operations, he said. Going further, the former head of the British Army, General Lloyd Dannett, told the BBC this enormous column will encircle and lay siege to the capital, Kyiv, where the New Yorker reported last week that thousands of those residents still in the city are seeking shelter every night in its metro system. Regardless of those competing explanations for its elongated existence, the Post says that the convoy has become a lightning rod for public discussion around the war, inspiring armchair generals to discuss how to best fight against it. Any suggestion that Ukraine could simply dismantle it from the air have been widely dismissed, however. The Wall Street Journal reports that the Ukrainian Air Force is crediting its new Turkish-made drones with destroying a large number of Russian weapon systems with guided bombs, but Russian troops have been seen deploying anti-aircraft missiles effectively against such drones.
For more news animations and explainers, hit the subscribe and bell button to join the TomoNews family. Thanks for watching.